Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking the deeply rooted mythology that actually serves as the foundation for an upcoming, massive pan-Indian cinematic spectacle. We're talking about a story that bridges the gap between ancient folklore and modern, mega-budget entertainment, and at its core, it reveals a narrative of just pure, unadulterated devotion.
To kick things off, we really have to look at the massive scale, the global star power, and the cutting-edge VFX of the upcoming film, Kanapa. This production aims to tell the story of a humble tribal warrior's spiritual journey, and wow, it's a massive undertaking. It features literally some of the biggest names in Indian cinema. We're talking Vishnu Manchu in the lead role alongside absolute titans like Prabhas and even Akshay Kumar, who's making his very first foray into the mythological genre here. It's designed to be a total visual feast, an absolute blockbuster meant to cross all regional and linguistic boundaries. But beneath this multi-million-dollar blockbuster lies a raw, ancient legend of devotion that honestly defies all logic. If you strip away the CGI, the massive battle sequences, and the global marketing campaigns, you're left with a profoundly human, deeply intense story of a hunter. It's a tale that is echoed across generations, and it challenges our very understanding of what it actually means to be devoted to something greater than ourselves.
Now, to fully grasp this, we need to understand a very specific number, 63. This number represents the 63 Nayanmars. So, who were they? Well, they were a group of Tamil Shiva Bhakti saint poets who lived way back between the 6th and 8th centuries, and they completely revolutionized spiritual devotion in India. See, before them, religious practice was kind of boxed in, largely confined to strict rituals, ancient texts, and a really rigid priestly class. But the Nayanmars, they changed the whole shebang. They brought the divine right down to the everyday person.
What's fascinating is that these saints came from absolutely every walk of life. It proved once and for all that salvation wasn't limited by your caste, your gender, or your profession. I mean, you had mighty kings and wealthy farmers standing on the exact same spiritual ground as tribal hunters and women. The Nayanmars proved, through their actual lived experiences, that single-minded devotion, or bhakti, was absolutely the highest form of connection to the divine. No prerequisites required.
These incredible stories were preserved in texts like the 12th century Periyapuranam. This monumental text was compiled by Chekhazar. He was a loyal minister, and the story goes that he was deeply worried about the religious philosophy of his king, Kulothunga Chola II. So to guide his king back toward the righteous path of Shaivism, Chekhazar meticulously documented the lives of these 63 saints. The Periyapuranam essentially became a cornerstone of Shaiva philosophy, ensuring these extreme acts of faith were literally never forgotten.
Right at the heart of this historical movement is a man named Thinnen. He was a brave hunter from a tribal family born in Udaipur. Thinnen was an absolute master of archery and forest survival. He possessed immense courage and kindness, but he had absolutely no formal education. He didn't know the Vedas, and he definitely didn't know the proper temple rituals. But one day, while hunting in the hills of Srikalahasti, he discovered a Shiva lingam hidden in a cave, and the moment he laid eyes on it, he felt this inexplicable, immediate spiritual pull that basically tied his soul to the deity.
Now, the crucial point here is the massive contrast between Thinnan's innocent, loving worship and the rigid, formal rituals expected by the traditional temple priest. Because Thinnan didn't know the quote-unquote rules, he worshipped in literally the only way a hunter could. He'd carry water in his mouth to wash the lingam. He offered the absolute freshest, best meat from his daily hunt. He spoke to Lord Shiva not as some distant, unapproachable deity, but as a close friend. Meanwhile, the temple priest, Siva Kosarial, would arrive to find these impure offerings and just be absolutely horrified. Yet, the lore tells us that Shiva silently accepted Thinnan's raw, unfiltered love way over the priest's strict protocols.
But as these legends often go, Lord Shiva decided to test his devotee. This led to an escalating series of events that showcase just a visceral, truly unparalleled level of sacrifice. One day, Thinnan arrived to find blood pouring out from the right eye of the Shiva lingam. Believing his god was injured and reacting as if it were his own father bleeding out, Thinnan didn't even hesitate. He took his hunting knife, gouged out his own right eye, and placed it right onto the lingam. And miraculously, the bleeding stopped. But the test wasn't over. Almost immediately, the left eye of the lingam started to bleed.
Now check out this incredible detail before he removes the second eye. Think about it. If he removes the second eye, he's gonna be completely blind, right? So how on earth will he know where to place it on the deity to heal the wound? Well, in a moment of brilliant, albeit heartbreaking logic, Thichinnon places his foot directly onto the sacred lingam to mark the exact spot. Using his toe as a marker is an action that breaks literally every traditional rule of purity, yet it so perfectly encapsulates his flawless, problem-solving devotion. And right at this emotional climax, just as the knife was about to take his remaining sight, Lord Shiva manifests in blinding, dazzling light. He stops the sacrifice, completely restores Thinan's sight, and grants him salvation. But it gets even better. He gives him the eternal title Kanapa Nayanar, which translates to the eye-giving saint. Shiva essentially elevates this uneducated, rule-breaking hunter to the absolute highest echelon of spiritual reverence.
But as we explore further into the lore, we see that Kanapa wasn't actually alone in this. He wasn't the only saint whose devotion pushed the absolute boundaries of human sacrifice and societal norms. The overarching theme of the 63-9 Mars is that when love for the divine is truly absolute, every single worldly attachment, whether it's wealth, your ego, your family, or even physical safety, it all just becomes secondary.
These shocking, extreme mini-narratives demonstrate that the Bhakti movement demanded absolute, uncompromising surrender. Just look at Ayurpagayar. He was a wealthy businessman who never refused a devotee. When Shiva, in disguise, asked for Ayurpagayar's wife, he actually agreed. He even fought and killed his own enraged relatives to ensure the devotee's safe passage. Or take Ilyangudi Marinar, a farmer reduced to absolute poverty. During a blinding rainstorm, he went out, dug up his freshly planted seed grain, and literally tore down the wooden beams of his own house to build a fire, all just to feed a hungry guest. Or Thirangilakantar, who took a vow to never touch his wife, maintaining that rigorous self-control into old age until they were magically restored to youth by the divine. These stories are meant to completely jolt us awake.
Now, this intense devotion isn't just a story. It is anchored right in the real world, at the famous Srikalahastiswara temple. Located in Andhra Pradesh, about 36 kilometers from Tirupati, this is no ordinary temple. It houses the Vayulingam, representing the element of air, making it one of the revered Panchabhuta stalams. Massive empires, from the Cholas all the way to the Vijayanagara kings like Krishnadevaraya, poured resources into expanding its beautiful architecture. And right beside it sits Kanapa Hill, the exact spot where our hunter saint attained salvation. And because of this legendary history, the temple holds a completely unique astrological status. Unlike virtually every other temple in India, which shut their doors during eclipses to avoid inauspicious energies, Srikalahasti remains wide open. It famously hosts Rahu Ketu pujas to ward off the negative effects of the shadow planets that cause eclipses. It's seen as this incredibly powerful place that just transcends typical cosmic rules. The central deity itself is this mysterious Vayulingam. It is a stunning piece of history. It's made of a white stone that looks almost like solidified camphor, and it's visually fascinating. It's divided into segments that actually represent the ancient lore of the area: a snake, elephant tusks, and a spider, all creatures who, according to myth, sought salvation right there. Plus, there's this wild detail. Despite being surrounded by highly flammable camphor lamps day and night, the stone itself miraculously never catches fire. So when we compare these two concepts, formal rituals versus pure devotion, it becomes abundantly clear that the central philosophy of these legends is that pure, unrefined love completely eclipses the mechanics of formal rituals. Sure, the priest said the scriptures, the clean water, and the proper chants. But Kanapa had a love so fierce he was willing to rip out his own eyes. The Nayamars basically shattered the illusion that God only speaks the language of the elite or the formally educated.
Ultimately, the big takeaway from Karnapa and the Nyanmars is that a pure heart touches the divine faster and way more profoundly than any recited mantra ever could. God sees the intent behind the action, not just the action itself. True devotion is completely fearless. When you surrender your ego entirely, you literally strip away the boundaries between yourself and the universe.
I want to leave you with a provocative final thought here. Throughout this explainer, we've looked at ancient texts, modern movies, and legendary saints who willingly surrendered their wealth, their families, and even their own eyes in the name of pure devotion. It definitely challenges our modern sensibilities, doesn't it? It asks us to look really deeply at our own lives. So, what are you truly devoted to? And more importantly, what are you willing to sacrifice for what you love?